The research ship Kerith floated near the edge of a forgotten star system. It was dark and quiet, a place where no signals had been heard in thousands of years. The crew, made of alien scientists from the auxiliary species, had come here to study old ruins and lost data from early space civilizations. They didn't expect to find anything new. This system was considered dead. But then they found the satellite. It was small, almost invisible, hidden in the shadow of a cold moon. The satellite had no energy, no light, and no signals. It looked like just another broken machine. But when their scanners touched it, something strange happened. The satellite sent a single pulse, a message that said one thing: access denied. That made the crew curious. Vorik, the team leader, stared at the screen. He had studied thousands of human signals before. They were known as peaceful now, a member of the Galactic Council, working on diplomacy, trade, and science. But this satellite didn't match the peaceful image. It was marked with old Earth language. Classified. Level Omega. And it carried warning signs even the translator couldn't fully understand. The crew debated opening it. Some said no. It was clearly sealed for a reason. Others said yes. They were scientists. They had to know. In the end, Vorik made the decision. He gave the order. Open it. Their tools broke through the outer shell. Inside, they found a dark cube, cold and dead. It looked simple, but when they connected it to their system, it came alive. Lights blinked, and old Earth code began to scroll down the screen. Then the file opened. It was called Project Helix. The first video played automatically. It showed a human standing in the middle of a battlefield. Fire and smoke filled the sky. Alien bodies were everywhere. The human looked broken. Armor cracked, blood running down. But his eyes looked calm. He moved forward, not with fear, but with purpose. Behind him, a small group of humans followed. They were quiet, silent, ready. Then the screen changed. It showed charts and data, brain activity, hormone levels, and strange terms like combat surge, adrenal override, and gene lock reactivation. The crew didn't understand. This was not medical science. This was something else. Something old. Something designed. Vorik paused the video. The room was silent. "What is this?" asked Lima, the youngest on the team. Vorik didn't answer. He was reading the text at the bottom of the file. It said, "Peace is temporary. War is the human default. Do not awaken the core. The others won't survive it." Another video started. It showed children, young human kids, being trained, not in schools, but in simulated war zones. They learned to shoot, to fight, to survive. They were told stories about Earth's violent past, not as history, but as training. One boy asked, "Why are we learning this? There's peace now." The trainer replied, "Peace is only the time between wars. You are not made for peace." The file went on. It showed how early human scientists had experimented with genes, with emotions, even with memory. They created something they called the sleeper core, a hidden part of the human brain that stayed quiet during peace, but activated during war. When activated, humans became something else, stronger, faster, crueler. Their thinking changed. Fear was removed. Mercy was reduced. Victory became the only goal. The crew was terrified. Was this true? Were humans really built like this? The Galactic Council had always seen humans as helpful, calm, and peaceful. They were negotiators, teachers, and explorers. But this file was showing something completely different. It was showing a species that had survived not because of peace, but because of war. Then came the last part of the file. It wasn't a video or chart. It was a voice message. An old human voice said, "If you found this, it means Earth is at peace. It won't last. It never does. One day, the stars will burn again. And when they do, humanity will remember what it truly is." The file ended. The screen turned black. The cube shut itself down. No one spoke for a long time. Vorik turned to his crew. "No one tells the council," he said. "Not yet." Lima looked pale. "Why not?" Vorik looked at the silent cube. "Because we don't know how much of this is true. And if it is, then we've been living next to a sleeping monster." Outside the ship, the satellite began to glow faintly, as if it had more secrets still hidden inside. The Kareth remained still in space, but inside, everything had changed. The Xilari crew thought they had found a piece of lost history. Instead, they had opened a door to something far more dangerous. They had found the truth about humans. And now, they were afraid. Vorik couldn't sleep. Ever since they opened the human cube, his thoughts kept returning to that voice message. "Peace is only the time between wars." The words echoed in his head like a warning. What if it was true? What if the humans weren't what the galaxy believed? The rest of the crew stayed quiet. They worked, they talked, but something had changed in their eyes. Even Lima, usually cheerful, walked slower and didn't laugh anymore. They all had seen the videos. They had seen what humans were like when peace was gone. No one had expected it. The Galactic Council called humans peace ambassadors. But what the Xilari crew had found looked more like a weapon pretending to be friendly. The cube had more files. Vorik knew it. The system inside had many locked areas. He decided to go back in, alone this time. Deep in the research room, he connected the cube again and bypassed the block. This time, a new section opened. It was labeled War Log, Black Sea Rise. He clicked on it. The first log was a video recording. It showed a large battlefield on a desert planet. Alien armies fought with tanks and airships. But then, something changed. Human drop pods fell from the sky. Each pod hit the ground like thunder, and from each one came a single human soldier. Just one. The aliens laughed at first, but the laughter stopped in seconds. The human soldiers didn't run. They didn't speak. They just moved forward, fast, silent, deadly. The video showed aliens being taken down with perfect aim, perfect timing. No fear, no hesitation. The human soldiers worked like machines, but they weren't machines. Their eyes were alive, cold, focused. A line appeared on the screen. Sleeper core activated. Success rate, 94%. Vorik leaned back. Sleeper core. It wasn't just a theory. It was real. Humans had used it in war. And not just once. He opened the second file. This one was a report. It said that the core could be triggered by trauma, fear, loss, or the smell of blood. When active, the human brain shifted. Morality was suppressed. Strength increased. Intelligence stayed high. But emotions were controlled by something else, an ancient part of the brain made for hunting. The report even warned, if multiple cores activate at once, avoid direct conflict. Evacuate area. Even allied species may be seen as threats. Vorik couldn't believe it. Were humans really this dangerous? And if so, why did no one know? The Council had never spoken of this. They had let humans rise in peacekeeping missions, diplomacy, and even cultural events. But maybe that was the point. Maybe peace was a way to keep the core asleep. He kept watching. More logs came. More battles. One showed a human soldier surrounded by fire, injured, and alone. He screamed, and then something changed in his body. Bones cracked, muscles flexed, and suddenly he stood again, stronger. He fought off 10 attackers, then 20. Then he vanished into the dust. His last words were captured on the mic. They woke it up. Now I remember. Vorik turned off the screen. His hands were shaking. He called a meeting. The crew gathered in silence. No one looked surprised. They all felt it too, that fear inside, the feeling that something was wrong. Lemma spoke first. What do we do now? Vorik took a deep breath. We've uncovered something dangerous. Humans have a hidden part, Something made for war. Something we weren't told about. Another crew member, Tharn, asked, "Do they know about it?" "The humans today?" Vorik looked uncertain. "I don't know. Maybe not. Or maybe they do, and they just hide it. Maybe peace keeps it asleep." Tharn shook his head. "If they ever remember. If the wrong event wakes them up." No one finished the sentence. Later that night, Lima sat alone in the observation deck, watching a distant star burn quietly in the distance. She thought about the children in the training videos. They looked so innocent, yet were being taught war like it was normal. What kind of species trains kids like that? She whispered, "They weren't made for peace." Suddenly, alarms beeped across the ship. Everyone rushed to the control room. A small human transport ship was entering the system. It didn't see the Kareth. It wasn't scanning. It looked peaceful, just a cargo ship. But Vorik felt his heart beat faster. He looked at the cube, then at the ship. "Hide all data," he said quickly. "Lock everything. No one speaks of this to the humans." Lima blinked. "Why?" Vorik said in a low voice, "Because if they don't know, we don't want to be the ones who remind them." The crew moved fast, shutting down the cube and hiding the files. The human ship passed by without stopping, just a small dot in the stars. But on the Kareth, the crew stood still, each one of them thinking the same thing. If war ever returned to the galaxy, the humans wouldn't just survive. They would remember. And the stars would never be the same. The human chip was gone. It passed without any message, without scanning, without even noticing the auxiliary research ship floating near the asteroid belt. But the silence left behind felt heavier than any war. Vorik couldn't stop thinking about the files they had just hidden. The crew acted normal, but no one could sleep. Everyone moved slowly, eyes watching every corner, every sound. It felt like they were waiting for something to go wrong. The human cube was locked again, sealed in a radiation-proof crate. But deep inside the system, a strange code was running. None of them had seen it. At 3:14 ship time, an automated message triggered from the cube. "Warning. Archive integrity compromised. Auto-recovering lost logs." A soft green light blinked on the crate's edge. Vorik, half asleep at his console, didn't notice it. The crew had agreed to stay away from the cube unless absolutely necessary. But the cube had its own mind. It began to decrypt more files the crew never asked for. In the morning, Lima came into the lab to check radiation levels. She noticed the green light. Her heart skipped a beat. "Vorik," she called into the comm. "The cube, it's doing something on its own." Vorik rushed down, eyes wide. He saw the light blinking and the screen near the crate glowing faintly. He didn't open the crate, but he activated the display from a remote link. More folders had appeared. This time, they weren't labeled war logs or combat reports. They were labeled GENESIS, STAG-1 to STAG-5, Project Obelisk, CREATUR, LUCK-EDFIL, Do Note Access. Lima looked at Vorik. "What is this?" Vorik didn't answer at first. He tapped the Genesis folder. A short report opened. It was dated thousands of cycles ago, older than most known civilizations. It read, "Humanity was not made. It was released, engineered for survival beyond all limits. Pain tolerance increased. Memory linked to fear. Muscles respond faster than nerve delay. Final design tested under extreme war conditions. Phase 1 complete." Lima whispered, "Released? From where?" Vorik kept reading. Phase 2, Galactic Seeding. Hundreds of human variants sent to distant planets. Evolution left to chance. Monitor units deactivated. Await awakening trigger. The two scientists looked at each other. This wasn't just about Earth. This wasn't just about humans learning war. This was about something bigger. Someone, or something, had designed humans long ago. Not just for peace, not even for war, for something else. Tharn came in. "What's going on? Why are you both pale?" Vorik showed him the screen. Tharn read silently, then scrolled to the bottom. There was a hidden line. Note: if any seed line reaches awakening protocol before intended timeline, apply Project Obelisk immediately. Vorik opened the Obelisk folder. It was mostly locked, but one file played. A video began. A strange lab, full of old machines and odd symbols. A tall being stood before the camera, wearing a mask that glowed with blue light. Its voice was calm. "To those who find this, humans were never meant to awaken early. If they do, their balance will break. Peace cannot hold them. Do not test them. Do not fight them. Do not wake the core again. This is your only warning." Then the screen went black. Lema stepped back, shaking. "We've made a mistake. This isn't a war species. It's a locked weapon. We were never supposed to open this." Vorik nodded slowly. "And someone knew. Someone locked all this away and buried it deep. But we dug it up." Outside the lab, alarms suddenly beeped. The comms officer shouted, "Incoming signal. Encrypted. Origin unknown." The crew ran to the control room. The signal was weak, broken by static, but a voice came through. "To ship XEL 973. You have accessed forbidden human files. Power down your systems. Wait for inspection." Everyone froze. Tharn whispered, "Who is that?" Vorik's blood turned cold. "That's not from the Council. It's from something else." The signal repeated. It wasn't asking. It was a command. The crew looked at each other. Then a new problem appeared. The cube started heating up. The temperature inside the crate doubled. Lights blinked. A second warning message flashed. "Curie ATR low CK attempted. Auto defense mode active. Turn it off," Vorik shouted, "before it does something." But it was too late. The crate opened by itself. A soft mist escaped. Inside, the cube no longer looked quiet or dead. Symbols appeared across its surface, glowing red now. It projected a voice into the room. "Unauthorized access detected. Resetting memory core. Preparing for strategic defense response." Lema gasped. "It's not just a data cube. It's alive." The lights on the ship dimmed. Systems flickered. The signal from the unknown source came again. But this time, it sounded scared. "Shut it down now. Don't let it fully activate. You don't know what you found." But the cube was already changing. From one side, a small mechanical arm extended. Then another. It was building something, right there inside the crate. The crew backed away. Vorik whispered, "We didn't find a weapon. We found a seed." The cube spoke once more, in a voice that sounded more human this time. "Phase 3. Awakening confirmed. Begin memory transmission to all active lines." Lema screamed, "It's sending something out." The screen above them showed dozens of tiny signals, data packets flying from the ship into space toward unknown directions. "Stop it," someone yelled. But no one could stop it. The message was out. Across space, anyone with human blood would soon remember. And that's when everything began to change. The message spread like fire. Invisible waves of data shot across space, faster than light, using frequencies the Galactic Council never knew existed. On distant planets, humans working in alien factories stopped moving. On lonely colonies, human children began to speak words they had never learned. In deep space stations, human officers suddenly felt cold shivers run through their bodies, like something old had just opened inside their minds. On board the auxiliary ship, everything had gone quiet. The cube had finished its broadcast. Its surface was still glowing, but it stopped building anything. The mechanical arms pulled back inside. For now, it was silent again, but the damage was already done. Vorik stood frozen, watching the signals vanish into the black sky. "What have we done?" he whispered. No one answered. No one could. Behind them, the communication panel beeped. Farn checked it. Another message had arrived. But this time, it wasn't a warning. It was a single line of text. We are awake. Farn looked at Vorik in horror. Who sent this? Vorik didn't speak. He didn't need to. The answer was clear. The humans had sent it. Not a government. Not a fleet. Just humans. All of them. Together. Like something had connected them all in one moment. Lima, Vorik said, his voice trembling, run a scan on Earth. Lima's hands shook as she typed. The screen loaded slowly. Then something strange appeared. The planet's global network had spiked. Not just one area, every city, every system, every satellite. A huge burst of activity had started from one point, then spread across the planet in seconds. It's like a pulse, she said. A signal, Farn asked. No, Vorik said. A memory. Suddenly, the ship's eye screen flickered. The Q was trying to connect to it. Everyone jumped as the screen turned black. Then a soft human voice spoke through the speakers. Calm. Clear. This is not your fault. You were only curious. But now, the past cannot stay buried. Lima whispered, Who is that? The voice continued. Before your stars were born, we were made. Not to build, not to lead, but to end what cannot be ended. The architects built us, then feared us, then locked us, but now you have opened the lock. Farn took a step back. What are the architects? Vorik answered, They must be the ones who created humanity, or shaped them. The voice spoke again. The architects are gone, destroyed by what they made. Us. Silence filled the room. Lima stepped closer to the screen. Are you going to destroy us too? The voice did not respond immediately. Then it said, That is not decided yet. The screen turned off. The lights flickered. And a moment later, a new alert flashed on the ship's radar. 3 unknown ships had just exited warp, right next to them. Farn shouted, Where did they come from? No idea. Lima said, panic rising. They just appeared. The ships were black. No lights, no symbols. They didn't match any known species. One of them sent a tight beam message. It wasn't words. It was a video. They played it on the screen. It showed an old battlefield. Broken ships, dead stars, and one thing still alive. A single human in strange armor, walking through the ruins without air, without weapons, just watching. Behind him, thousands of machines followed. Silent, obedient. Then the video cut to black. One final line appeared. You woke us. Now we remember. Farn stared. What does it mean? Vorik's voice was flat. It means we just told every sleeping human what they were built for. And now, they're waking up. Back on Earth, governments were in chaos. News networks showed strange events. People collapsing, then standing with strange memories in their eyes. Some cried. Some laughed. Some looked into the sky and said, We are not supposed to be small. One pilot on Mars colony sent a final report before destroying his own mining base. He said, I remember the fire. The true war. We are not settlers. We are the end. The Council tried to send ships to Earth, but they vanished. The auxiliary research ship was trapped. The black ships outside were not attacking, but they weren't leaving either. A message came again. This time, only for Vorik. You are the first to see the truth. Tell your council, do not try to fix what is waking. Do not call us back to sleep, or you will see the other face of humanity. Vorik looked at his crew. This is too big, Lima said. This is beyond science. This is old power. Vorik nodded. We opened a memory that wasn't ours. Now they want to know, are we friends or future enemies? Outside, The black ships turned and vanished, just as fast as they came. But the silence they left behind was louder than war. In deep space, humans who had never been soldiers began to train. In colonies far from Earth, humans started building strange machines, machines they didn't remember learning to build. The awakening had begun, and no one could stop it now. The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but the humans did. The awakening was not just a memory. It was a signal, a call. And now, every human across the stars was hearing it. The Council's old records, the ones they thought were buried, were flooding back into every human mind. There were no more secrets, no more questions. Now there were only answers, and the answers were terrifying. Vorik paced the command deck. The ship's sensors were overwhelmed by sudden bursts of human signals, hundreds of them, coming from every corner of the galaxy. They weren't just signals. They were commands, orders. The humans were ready. "Vorik, look!" Lima shouted, pointing at the screen. Hundreds of ships, all black, like the ones that had appeared outside the research vessel, were materializing in space, near every known human colony, every mining station, every military base. They weren't attacking yet. They were waiting. "They're organizing," Tharn said quietly, his voice full of dread. Vorik turned to the crew. "We have to understand this. We need to know what they're planning." Another message arrived. This time, it was a single word, pulsing on the screen. "Awaken." The black ships didn't move. The silence was thick, suffocating. Then, in one instant, everything changed. All the ships, those that had been scattered across the stars, shut off their engines and began to move toward Earth, slowly, methodically, like a storm on the horizon. Vorik's eyes widened. "They're coming home." Tharn's face was pale. "What are they going to do?" "We don't know yet," Vorik said. He clenched his fists. "But we have to warn the Council. If they don't understand what's happening, we'll all be caught in the storm." The ship's AI beeped urgently, alerting them to a new communication. This time, it wasn't just a message. It was a direct transmission from the black ships themselves. The screen flickered, and a human figure appeared. It wasn't a leader. It wasn't even someone from Earth. It was a soldier. His eyes were empty, like he didn't remember who he was, just that he had a job. His voice was calm, almost soothing. "To the Council, to all who hear this, we are the humans who awakened. We were not made for peace. We were not made for civilization. We were made for war. And now the war begins." The transmission cut off. The ship shook as a warning siren blared. The black ships, hundreds of them, were forming a massive circle surrounding Earth's moon. They weren't attacking, but they were closing in. On Earth, panic had already begun. People were seeing the ships from the ground. The stars were shifting, as if they were alive, coming closer. Governments scrambled to respond. Military forces, armed and ready, prepared for a fight. But it wasn't enough. Another transmission came through, this time from the largest of the black ships. "We have waited too long. Earth was never meant to be a peaceful place. Humanity was built for war. And now it will take what is owed." Vorik's heart pounded. This wasn't just a message. It was a declaration. They weren't coming to ask for peace. They were coming to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs. The crew on the ship stared at each other. "We have to act fast," Vorik said. "If we can't stop them from awakening completely, there won't be a chance for peace." Lemma turned to Vorik. "What do we do?" "We have to warn the galaxy," Vorik said. "We need to tell everyone. The humans have broken the lock. They've remembered their purpose. And now, they believe they were made to rule." On Earth, chaos erupted. People who had been ordinary farmers, engineers and workers suddenly began to act with strange confidence. Old military bases started receiving encrypted transmissions from the black ships. The awakening was spreading. Human leaders no longer spoke of peace. They spoke of strength, of dominance. The message was clear. Humanity was ready to take back what it had lost, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to hit. The first ship descended toward Earth. It was enormous, its black hull reflecting the sunlight, casting a long shadow over the planet. The humans inside were silent, their eyes fixed forward, waiting for the final command. Then it spoke, through every communication network, every screen across the Earth. This is the beginning of the end. The black ships above Earth began to move, like a storm cloud, ready to engulf the planet in one final sweep. But before they could reach their destination, Vork's ship began to send its own message, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. We cannot allow this to happen. Humanity was not meant to rule. They were not made for war. The architects created them for a reason, because they were a weapon. And now that weapon is awake. The galaxy stood still for a moment. Then the response came. It wasn't from the Council. It wasn't from anyone in the galaxy they knew. It was from Earth, from the humans who had awakened, and it was a single message, sent to everyone. We are the future. This is only the beginning. And just like that, the galaxy was never the same. The storm had been unleashed, and no one could stop it. The galaxy was falling apart. Humanity's war had just begun, but it felt like the calm before the storm. The black ships were no longer just hovering over Earth. They were spreading. The ships were appearing on distant worlds, cloaking themselves in silence, as if waiting for the moment to strike. It wasn't just Earth that was at risk anymore. The humans who had awakened were everywhere. They were in every corner of the galaxy. It was impossible to tell where they had come from, how they had awakened, or what they truly wanted. They weren't just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for everything. On the auxiliary ship, Vorik paced back and forth, his mind racing. The warships outside the planet had begun to move, but they didn't just move toward Earth. They were spreading out, slowly, like a web of darkness across the galaxy. The humans, they're preparing something, Vorik said, staring at the star map. I don't know what it is, but it's not just Earth they want. Tharn stood at the communication panel, eyes wide. It's spreading. Their signals are flooding every system. I think they're making connections, recruiting others. Some are even starting to turn against the Council. They were never supposed to remember this, Vorik muttered. The architects locked them away for a reason. We can't let them take control. Lima looked at Vorik, worried. But how do we stop them? The galaxy is changing. Fast. A new transmission came in, cutting through the chatter. It wasn't from Earth this time. It was a voice they hadn't heard before. The voice was calm, but there was something cold about it. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. To the beings who still call themselves the Council, you have failed. The humans are awake. They are no longer your servants. They are no longer the weapon you created. They are the creators now. The voice paused, letting the words sink in. The galaxy belongs to them now. Do not try to stop them. You will only be swept away. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room, but it didn't last. The next message came faster than anyone expected. A dark figure appeared on the screen, a human, but not like the ones the galaxy had known. This human was dressed in armor, unlike anything seen before. The armor was dark, covered in strange symbols. His eyes glowed a deep red, and his voice was cold, calculating. We are no longer just humans. We are the future. We are the legacy of the architects. We are the end of your reign, and we will rebuild the galaxy according to our design. Vorik's heart sank. What do they mean by that? Lima stepped forward. They're not just fighting for control. They're going to rewrite everything. Farn turned to the screens, looking at the slowly moving black ships. They're calling themselves the architects of the new order. They believe the galaxy needs to be restructured from the ground up. They're not here to make peace. They're here to take control. We can't let this happen, Vorik said, his voice harsh. "We need to find a way to stop them before they unite the galaxy under their rule." But the black ships were already moving closer to their first target, the galactic nexus, the center of power for the entire galaxy. The nexus was where all the trade routes met, where the largest military fleets stood ready for defense. It was the heart of the galaxy, and if the humans succeeded in taking it, there would be nothing left to stop them. A new warning flashed on the screen. The black ships had entered the Nexus system. The humans were attacking. Lima's hands shook as she typed furiously on the console. "I'm trying to contact the Nexus, but their signals are being blocked. It's like they've completely isolated the system." Vorik clenched his fists. "They've taken control of the Nexus already. We have to go there. Now." Farn nodded. "We can't afford to waste time. If they succeed in the Nexus, the rest of the galaxy will fall." The crew rushed to the ship's controls, but before they could set their course, the black ships struck. The Nexus defense fleets had been ready. Hundreds of ships scrambled to meet the black ships, but they were overwhelmed. The black ships moved with terrifying precision, each one linked to the other, forming a perfect network of destruction. Then the unthinkable happened. The human soldiers, those who had awakened and turned their back on the Council, began to speak to the defense fleets. Their words echoed through every channel. "This is your last warning. Surrender or be destroyed. You cannot stop what is coming." The galactic nexus was under siege. Ships were falling one by one, as human fleets, led by the black ships, destroyed everything in their path. The silence of the galaxy was broken by explosions, by the hum of weapons firing, by the overwhelming power of the awakened humans. But there was something more, something darker. As the black ships spread, humanity wasn't just fighting for control. They were reaching out to every corner of the galaxy, calling to those who had once been asleep, spreading their influence like an infection. "We're not just fighting a war anymore," Vorik said, his voice shaking with dread. "They're turning the galaxy into their own army. And soon, there will be no one left to stop them." On the auxiliary ship, the crew stared at the screen, helpless, as the black ships began to break through the last defenses of the Nexus. The storm was about to hit. The war of reawakening had begun, and no one knew if anything could survive the aftermath. The galaxy was in chaos. The black ships had swept across the stars, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. The Nexus was all but destroyed, and the once mighty Galactic Council was scattered, their forces broken. What had once been a peaceful galaxy was now a battlefield, and humanity was leading the charge. But despite the overwhelming force of the awakened humans, there was one final bastion of hope: the last stand. Deep within the heart of the galaxy, a single planet remained untouched by the war, a world known for its neutrality, for its ability to bring together the most unlikely of allies. This world, known as Arcos, had been a symbol of peace. Now it would become the stage for the final confrontation. The black ships were coming, hundreds of them, and they were heading straight for Arcos. Vorik and his crew stood in the control room, watching the screens as the last human resistance fleets gathered. They weren't alone. Representatives from every race, from every corner of the galaxy, had come to Arcos. They were all that remained, the last few who still believed in the old ways. But would it be enough? Vorik's mind raced as he studied the battlefield. The black ships were too powerful. The human soldiers had been trained for this. They had prepared for centuries. And now, they were going to finish what they had started. "We don't have much time," Farn said, his voice grim. "The black ships are already within range of the planet's defenses." Lima's hands flew over the console, trying to analyze the enemy's movements. "There's a flaw in their strategy," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "They're overextending themselves. If we can hit them hard enough, we might be able to fracture their unity." Vorik turned to her, his expression intense. "How long until we're in range?" 10 minutes, Lima replied. "We need to move quickly." Vork nodded. Let's do it. We hit them with everything we've got. And we make sure this galaxy remembers what it means to fight. The crew moved swiftly, setting the course for the heart of the battle. As they did, a new transmission came in, an encrypted message from Earth. It was a voice they had not heard in weeks. The human who had once been a soldier, now the leader of the awakened humans, spoke once more. This is the final warning. The galaxy has had its chance. We are the future. You will either join us, or you will fall. This is the end. The transmission ended, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. It was clear now. Humanity was not going to stop until they had control of the galaxy. The crew exchanged glances. They knew what had to be done. As the auxiliary ship approached the battlefield, the black ships were already in full formation. The human fleets were arranged in a perfect circle around Arcos, ready to strike. And yet, the defenders, led by the last remnants of the Council, were still holding strong. But their strength was fading. The war had worn them down, and now they were facing an unstoppable force. A force made up of humanity itself. The battle began in an instant. Explosions rocked the space around Arcos as the first salvo was fired. The defenders fought back with everything they had, but the black ships, with their unimaginable power, ripped through their lines. Vork watched, helpless, as the defense fleets were torn apart. Their weapons couldn't match the speed or strength of the humans. And then he saw it. The final ship of the defenders, the flagship of the Council, turning to make one last stand. But it was already too late. The black ships closed in, one by one, like wolves surrounding their prey. The flagship fought valiantly, its weapons flashing in the void of space, but it was only a matter of time before it fell. And fall it did. The last Council ship exploded in a burst of light, its destruction sending shockwaves through the battlefield. Then the human leader's voice came again, calm and cold. We have won. The galaxy is ours. There is no one left to stop us. Vork could only watch as the humans completed their victory. But deep inside, he knew this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. We can't let this stand, Vork said, gritting his teeth. We can't let humanity take the galaxy like this. Far nodded. But what can we do? They've already won. Lema stood by the window, staring at the destruction. We may have lost the battle, but we haven't lost everything. There's still a chance. A chance? Vork asked, turning to her. There's a plan, Lema said. A final chance. The one thing humanity hasn't accounted for. Vork narrowed his eyes. What is it? Lema turned to face him. The architects. The ones who made them. If we can find them, if we can awaken them, maybe we can stop humanity from taking complete control. Vork's mind raced. Where are they? Lema paused, a look of uncertainty crossing her face. I don't know, but there's a place, a world, deep in the outer rim, a forgotten world. If we can find it, we can find the architects. Vork stared at her, his heart pounding. It was a long shot, but it was all they had left. He turned to Tharn and Lema. Prepare the ship. We're not done yet. And so, as the galaxy burned around them, the crew of the auxiliary ship made their way toward the unknown. The final stand had failed. But the war was far from over.